Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever time you are listening to this. Welcome to another episode of Grand Rising Empowerment. I am your host, Brian Greenley. And like always, I have Dr. Darby Jr. on the other end. How you doing, Dr. Darby?
I'm doing fabulous, brother. Grand rising to all the listeners out there, and ready to get this thing started, man. A little fireside chat.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of do a recap, kind of get everyone up to par where we have been on this journey of discovery and deconstructing Christianity. So, the first episode, we talked about our biblical journey. How do we get to this discovery period?
Yes.
And then we talked about the deconstruction of Christianity. We talked about the biblical education versus the way we have been conditioned to think.
Yeah.
In that, we talked about
Symbolic thought versus symptomatic thought. Critical thinking matches symptomatic thought because it takes you to the root of what the sounds are, what they mean, and then they connect it to the communication.
we've talked about, is God good all the time? And we you got to go back to that episode.
Yeah,
We
Bible
brought
God.
us, Bible God. And we brought up several different verses to support, is God really good all the time?
Right.
And then it led into our discovery of our last episode, which is Ma'at.
Yeah.
And we talked about the 42 laws or affirmations of Ma'at. And we talk about the principles, the 7 principles of Ma'at. So today's subject is going to be Ma'at living. So kind of laying the groundwork and the chronological order of how we've gotten to where we are.
Yes,
So
sir.
now I'm going to turn the tables over to our resident expert, Dr. Lloyd C. Darby. You have now got the mic, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was so eloquently put. Yes, as it pertains to Ma'at, simplified, it's going to be very hard to do. But what I'd like to do is sort of drop a gem and encourage the listeners to dig a little deeper into it. Understanding Ma'at and how it affects humanity is going to take some time. But what I can do today is have a little discussion about it and maybe get those off on the right track. Now, first thing I want to say is Ma'at is not the only way, but it is a way. It is a way to be successful. It is a way to live in harmonious connection with nature, and it is a way to preserve those truly irreplaceable assets that you cannot get back, which is not money, contrary to popular belief, but it's energy and it's time. Those are your two most valuable assets. And what you want to do while we're on this side of life is you want to try to preserve those two assets as best as you can. That is your time and your energy. Because once they're gone, they cannot be replaced. So what we're simply saying is that Ma'at is not the only way, but it is truly one of the oldest ways that humanity pressed itself forward and maximize their potential in life. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense.
Okay. So we're talking about an old civilization, the Kemet civilization, and they left plenty of evidence for us to go by that we can research. They left it on the walls. They left it in monuments. They left it in the spirit of the people. So these things can easily be traced. We talked about the Pert M. Heru, or the Book of Coming Forth by Day and by Night, as one of the sources that you can look to if you want to learn more about these 42 negative confessions of Ma'at that deal with you as an individual, not something outside of yourself judging you, But these are all symbolic. And yes, it is mythical and it is a philosophy. So these are not actual real entities, but it is a way to think. It's a way that you can change the way you've been conditioned to think to where you'll be more productive. At least that's where it was for me and those that I have taught in the past. So Ma'at emerged among the people of Kemet thousands of years ago. This is before the Bible or any other writings, Quran, any other book. And it emerged from the people because they understood their connections in ancient Africa to the cosmos, nature, the sun, each other, and all the living. They understood any living entity had an energy running through it that connected back to themselves. In fact, they understood their social welfare was a fundamental principle of Ma'at. And they knew this for a fact. The learning of Ma'at precipitates the living of Ma'at because it encapsulates the experience and teachability of Ma'at. I'm going to say that again. The learning of Ma'at precipitates the living of Ma'at because it encapsulates the experience of teachability of Ma'at. Reason being is because observation is one of the first ways of learning. You have newborns all the time. And those of us who have had children, we've actually witnessed their observation and we've witnessed them in their environment as babies and their learning. And then we saw as they grow up, they began to emulate what they've been watching. And this happens right under your nose, right in front of your face most of the time. So what you'll see is that the early people of ancient Kemet was in an environment and they realized that Ma'at was present in all creation. It was the essence of all existing. I'll say that again. It was the essence of all existence. Now, although we as humans are the expressed physical image of our parents, we are the expressed spiritual image of the creator energy of the universe. So basically, when you're looking at your parents, you're actually looking at yourself. And when your parents are looking at you, they are actually looking at themselves. And the ancient Kemet people, they realized that, hey, we are an extension of each other. And then we tie all of that to all things living that are energy driven, mainly the universe. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it does.
Okay. In fact, all humans are born divine with a connection to the sun as their life source. So humans are essentially good by nature, possessing a higher self and a lower self, meaning the human with the right understanding can literally be a divine force. You're born divine. No human is born committing what they call sin. No child. So there will be no need to be born again to get rid of the sin because you are born divine. And as you continue to grow and you continue to flourish in your environment, you pick up these different ways of thinking that will cause you to go one way or the other. Now, I've had some people want to question whether humans are inherently good or not, but that doesn't make any sense because we see every day traffic on the road, people moving, going to and fro, but nobody's getting gunned down on every corner like war. We stand in a line, we wait our turn, There's no instructions. And for the most part, people are polite and people will say, excuse me, open doors for you, close doors for you, help you if you have trouble on the street. So, this idea that evil is so powerful and is just taking over the world is just not the case, is it? No. You see, today I've come here with my brother. We're sitting down having this recording, and neither one of us have experienced any evil on the way up here. Have you?
No, no, I haven't. I have not experienced that.
Right. So, this narrative that there's a devil out here, chasing you down, looking to see, who he can take over exists. But that is the minority, not the majority. And I like people to understand the importance of that. That alone can free your mind so you understand in your spirit that people, the human, is a divine force, and most of us are inherently good, regardless of the color. So I'm going to let you go ahead and comment a little bit before I get into the lower self piece and dig a little deeper.
I am. I'm just thinking about some things that I had told a group of friends of mine, like literally yesterday.
Mm,
Who are you giving your best to?
mm,
I bring that up based on what you just said.
yes, sir.
What's the most valuable thing that we have?
Mm,
Our
energy
time
and time.
and our energy. That's
That's
right.
it.
Two main factors. So we need to be careful of who we are devoting
Yeah.
our energy
Yes.
and our most precious commodity,
Yes.
our time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well put. That's a good point because my art is all about intro, right? It's not about external. You know, most religions, there's an external concept. They look into the sky, God, okay? They're looking to a in-between person, maybe Jesus, maybe Muhammad to Allah, maybe Jesus to the Bible God. They're looking for an in-between person to do something
Mediator.
for a mediator,
A
right? As a matter of
mediator.
fact, it literally says that in the scripture. They're looking for that. But what Ma'at does is it makes everything introspective, you see, and it tells you that you are the one who decides your fate by the decisions that you make. It tells you that you are the one, and then it lists this principle of the feather and the heart. And anybody who's ever had any type of life experience understands what it means to have a heavy heart versus a light heart. When somebody is lighthearted, right, they're more jovial, they're more friendly, they're more open, they're more graceful. When somebody has a heavy heart, they're more upset, they're more mean, they're more antagonistic. So what it's trying to tell you is that, hey, Ma'at measures this against yourself. And this is you looking internal. Hey, is my heart heavy? Hey, am I as light as a feather? Okay. And that's what we're measuring it against, not for judgment. Okay. And we're going to get more into that our next conversation. Not for judgment, but to measure up the dissonance of, are you light-hearted, or are you still carrying around a heavy heart, or maybe you just don't know which one you are. And I'm going to give you some tips on that at the end.
And that goes into our idea of uh, upper and lower self operations.
Exactly. Well, let's look at that. So when you're dealing with the lower self, okay, you're talking about the counter force of Ma'at, and that title that's called Isfet. Okay, Isfet. And Isfet basically is present anywhere Ma'at is not practiced. See, it emerges on its own. So if you're not practicing good, you're automatically practicing bad. Okay. If you're not practicing making the right decisions, you're just making the wrong decisions. I'll put it like this: if you're not making the best decision, then you're making the decisions that are not best for you. You see? So Isfet is a spiritual concept that happens right alongside Ma'at, but you will determine which one you want to do. And sometimes you might not even be aware of it.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. So
Mm,
my aunt, if when not practicing, gives way an opportunity, an opening for SFAT to emerge,
absolutely.
to
Isfet,
create a space.
it does. You got to remember when you're talking about it, and when anytime you're experiencing chaos, disorder, imbalance, or your life just being out of sync, okay, you're just not maximizing it. Let's say you're trying to save money, but somehow you cannot save any. You just keep trying, and it's like, your bank account has a hole in it. Something's always coming up, right? That's out of balance. So now you got to figure out, okay, through this ma'at, measuring against ma'at principles, hey, where am I off in these principles that is causing me to be defeated in my bank account? I mean, literally, okay? We all know we need money to move along down here as an exchange of median, depending on, how you want to live. So anytime you're dealing with Isfet, you're dealing in the opposite of Ma'at and cosmic disorder. We're all a part of the cosmos. Like it or love it, you're all a part of it. We can't do nothing about that because none of us asked to be here. No child asked to be born, but we're here. So once we're here, we have to figure out the best way to move that will be the most productive, not just for us, but also for the other humans that we bring into the world. Because this cycle is nonstop. Okay, just energy, energy, energy. You see? So we're talking about a consciousness and a discipline. That's the bottom line. What is your consciousness? Do you have the righteousness of Ma'at consciousness, or do you have the consciousness that is led by Isfet, or disorder, or imbalance? Now, unfortunately, I really wish I knew about these principles early on in my life because I would have been a whole lot further off than looking for an external guide to save me or looking for something external to do something for me. Okay. I would be able to just understand I'm born in a divine state and I can do it myself. Make sense?
I'm sitting here
Yes, sir.
thinking about intercessory prayer,
Mm,
interjection into a situation when we can control that situation.
mm, perfect.
We're waiting for the external
Right.
interjection
Right.
into our situation when we are in full control of that.
Right. Right. And who you're
The
praying to.
internal, the
Internal.
internal.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that because prayer is a big part of it when done correctly. Okay. Is who you're praying to, where we got off on the wrong track. Okay. Your prayer is simply talking to your ancestors. Okay. Those that knew you, those that you know that have transitioned, okay, and have affected your life. Those that have died for you, for your freedom, for your choices, and watch this, for your human rights. You see, that's that civil activist, that civil activism that gives you the authority now legally to read, write, educate yourself, vote. See, those we need to thank and be grateful for eternally, not an entity that we do not know or we just heard of. See? So my grandmother, my grandfather, and I'll say grandfathers, grandmothers, my aunt, my uncles, and my descendants, they knew me and they all were pulling for me. And I communicate with them all the time, anytime I choose. And they will let me know what direction I should go. Now, those who do not communicate with those that have known them and that have guided them, they're going to be speaking to someone that they heard about versus somebody that they know. Now, okay, Moses might have been great. Okay, Joseph might have been great. Might have went to Egypt and did whatever. But my grandma Velma, I know her. She knew me. My grandma Mildred Wilson, my grandfather Claude Darby, he knows me. My grandfather Benjamin Wilson, they know me. My mama, she knows me, and I know them, and I hear their voice. And when I speak to them knowing full assurance they are saying, I'm pulling for you, son. I'm pulling for you. I know I can connect with that. So when we're dealing with prayer and ancestry in Ma'at, that's who you're praying to, which simply is just talking to the ancestors. I'm not talking about closing your eyes, getting in a room, putting your hands in a certain position, standing up, pointing towards it. No, you do it always. You just stay in prayer. And everywhere I go, I carry them with me. My DNA, my spirit, my mental state, my physical look, all comes from that same line. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it makes sense.
Right.
I was just thinking about the slave master and the enslaved,
Mm,
both praying to the same God
ain't that something?
for for interference or
Yes.
interjection or
Yes.
intercedence
Yes.
into their
Mm,
situation.
mm.
How is that possible?
It's not.
I,
I hate to answer that so fast, but I
that's
mean,
why it's so
that
important.
one, the one enslaved me is actually the one who's going to free me.
Make it make sense. But that's why we're having this dialogue now. That's
Yes,
why we're
sir.
having this educational briefing
Yes, sir.
on who you are
Yes.
and where it comes from. It comes within
Yes, sir.
to elevate you to a consciousness or where your power comes from. It comes from self.
Yes,
You're
sir.
the God that you want. Um, you're the God that you're looking for.
Yeah, you are. You are. And that's a good way to say it. And in other words, what you're saying is, man, woman, know thyself, and to thine own self be true. That's the mantra. Man, know thyself, and to thine own self be true. And the truth is, you know who you were related to. You know who were pulling for you. You know who your bloodline is, and that's what works best for you and me. Now, if someone else has another concept, hey, by all means, stick with it. But for me, I know that this one makes the best sense because everything I'm telling you, I can line it up with actual truth. It's not a fairy tale. It's not folklore. It's actually truth. I've been on my grandmama's knee. Okay. I've been on my granddaddy's knee. I've talked to him as a grown man. He wanted me to go in the military. He wanted me to stay in the military. And when he passed, I was in the military. And he told me he was proud of it. He was very proud of it. And he was a soldier too, by the way. Okay. So, hey, shout out to Benjamin Wilson. He was a soldier, Corporal Benjamin Wilson.
That's dope.
And
I
it
love it.
was tougher for him
Mm-hmm.
than it was for me. And we
I can
used to
only
swap stories.
imagine.
Yeah, it was in the 40s. I mean,
I can
we
only
you
imagine.
can only imagine. So we're still standing because of that. Now, like I said before, it's on us. It is our responsibility to know ourselves and to be true to ourselves because we cannot lie to ourselves righteously. Now, you can fool yourself if you want to, but when you're looking in that mirror, you cannot lie to yourself. Okay. So I'm glad we talked about that because that leads us to these 7 principles that I said I want to try to do in a simplified sense and apply them every day. First one is truth. Truth says be honest with yourself, knowing what is true, but not justifying, not believing, but knowing. No justifying, no trying to justify your acts to appease you spiritually or, well, I'll say mentally, but knowing. And when you're walking in Ma'at, you have to walk from this position of truth, okay? And it just starts with simply being honest, not with yourself, but with yourself and others, okay? And I think we underestimate the ability to be honest. A lot of people think that they have to be dishonest to get ahead, but you don't have to be. Stand in truth, okay?
Or about not saying anything,
Yeah,
even though you know the truth, but
absolutely.
the absence of not acknowledging that
Yeah,
is a way of kind of I'm just
yeah,
gonna I'm gonna put it in God's hand. God
yeah.
knows my heart.
Yes, being neutral.
I'm just not gonna say
Yeah,
nothing.
that's omission. Yeah, you're right. The same thing. But it's not that hard. Just walk in truth, right? Now, the good thing about my art is that if you fail, you're doing it within yourself and you can always return back to it. I'm going to give some tips on how to do that at the end, okay? Second one is justice. Treat people fairly and treat all life as sacred, including the environment. That's the earth, that's the air, that's the water, the plant life. You know, don't just go around here destroying things just because you can, okay? And it gets on my nerves sometimes. I'll see them making a sport out of fishing. You know, they'll catch a fish with a hook in his mouth, then they take a hook out and put it and set it right back out. You know, I'm not a fisherman. I don't fish as I've fished before, but I don't do it as a regular practice. So maybe I don't get it. But someone fishing to feed their family or to feed themselves, that's one thing. But when you're just out here just catching fish, just to say that you caught it, take a picture, and then pull the spear out the mouth and put it back, I still don't get that yet. Maybe somebody can tell me a little bit about that.
And here you go, Battle, going back to our military days.
Yes,
You
sir.
remember a police call?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Walking around, but man, if
Yeah.
a little piece of trash on the
Yeah.
ground, you better
Yeah.
pick it up and put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
And then you got a whole, double arm interval. Let's go
Yes,
around,
sir.
pick up all this trash.
Yes.
Area beautification.
Yes, sir.
Area beautification. That's
Yes,
what
sir.
it's called,
Yes,
ladies and
sir.
gentlemen. But keeping in true faith to the military, that's one thing I am grateful for. Even though I'm not in the military no more, I have
Yeah.
an eye to I look down. Okay, there's trash.
Yeah.
So much trash around here to pick up.
Yes,
It,
sir.
it, it can become overwhelming, but if if each of us has that mindset to pick up that little piece of garbage that's been thrown down,
Yeah.
imagine what we can do for humanity,
Absolutely.
environment.
Absolutely.
So,
And we
thank you,
do.
military, for instilling in me police call, police calls
Yeah.
tendencies,
Yes,
area
sir.
beautification. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir. And it's just you're dealing with justice. You know, in my art, is justice is not mean in a courtroom. Okay. Justice has to deal with treating all people fairly and treating all life as sacred because it is, you know, being having the gift of life, even plant life, okay, going through and just cutting down tree for no reason, tearing up the forest for no reason. These things have to be treated as sacred because they have a certain spirit of energy that runs through them. And we need that, even in the foods that we eat that's plant life. What they eat is what we are. Excuse me, what we eat is what they are. You know, whether it's a vitamin, whether it's iron, okay, whether it's a mineral, we have to treat that as sacred and respect that. Okay.
The words that come to my mind is stewardship.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And it makes sense. And you know what? I wasn't gonna go this deep, but I'll go. There's a difference between what you grow yourself and what you can get in the store. Okay.
100.
I know it sounds really simple. It's a big difference. I know because I've tested this theory. You know, a lemon tree that you plant and grow and cut that lemon off, and you take that lemon and you compare it to the ones you bought in the store, same size and everything. But boy, they taste totally different, which means something was done to that one that you get in the store from the store versus the one that you planted that came straight out of the ground. Of course, being, you know, knowing several farmers and several people that plant their own uh, herbs and their own uh, fruit and their own greens and cabbage and spinach and so forth, it's taught me a lot as it pertains to my art because there's definitely a difference in protecting that than it is the one that runs through the commercial process of putting the food on the shelves. And basically, what I'm saying is that protect the environment, treat it as sacred, and understand there is a difference between the two. And that includes the air, you know. Next is balance. Commit to your rituals. Talk, pray to your ancestors in silence or out loud. You have to keep your life in balance to prevent self induced chaos. Example, work life balance. Don't work too much, but also don't go out and live too much. Okay? Enjoying yourself, entertaining yourself. You know, you got to work and you have to have enough release in order to be more effective on the job. Why? Because self control is the key. You're not able to lose it when practicing my art. Okay? Next one, order. Fight against Isfet daily. Fight against lying. Fight against cheating, stealing, hurting people in disorder. Treat people right. And you're always going to have that impulse to try to do wrong, but you got to fight against that. And that's that Isfet side of the world and the universe, which we call that lower self. Fifth, reciprocity. Reciprocity. Understand that life in many cases has choices and decisions that can be good or bad. Bad ones have consequences. You got to understand this. Be willing to receive the consequences gracefully without complaint. This is how I know someone understands my art. You've already acknowledged that you've messed up, whatever you've done, and you know that you're not in control of the consequences of what that punishment will be. So when you receive them, do it gracefully. And if you wrong someone, go back and make it right with them before it's too late or they transition. Don't wait till the person dies and then be at the funeral crying and showing out and everything. Do it while they still are available to hear you and understand you. This is where you have a clean heart and you can continue to grow. Six, harmony. Cultivate and protect your inner peace. Respect your life and others' lives. Live with integrity and be sincere in your dealings with people and nature. This way you can have a balance and your harmony in your life will just flow peacefully, okay? And you cultivate your inner peace by respecting your life. Don't test life or tempt life. Don't do things that result in the ending of your life, okay? And that's health wise or others. Seven, righteousness. Live in right standing and do all things decently and in order. Take no shortcuts. Keep your word and be trustworthy. You want to strive to be peaceful and manage your emotions. Self discipline is one of the best ways to ignite the ma'at in you. So, I'm going to give 3 tips that will get us started today. First place, Morning. When you wake up in the morning, wake up with gratitude. Think of 3 things that you can be grateful for every morning when you wake up. If your mind takes you off of it, bring yourself back on track. But 3 tips is starts with the morning. Wake up with gratitude in the morning and think of 3 things you can be grateful for every single morning. Afternoon, I call that your midday mindfulness. In the afternoon, take a break and think to yourself, am I being mindful of the principles of my art today? Where do I stand? Is the things I've done, the decisions I've made today, are they lining up with the principles of my art? Midday mindfulness, that's in your afternoon. And then at night, before you lay down, reflect on your day. We call that the night or evening reflection. Reflect on your day and measure that against my art. What that does is it prepares you for the next day. Because when you reflect on what you've done for that day, you can always use my art as a compass to make sure all your actions and all your dealings have lined up with my art. So, lastly, before we close, I just want to let everyone know my art is an ongoing practice and it must be consciously carried out in your daily life. You can't just let it and allow it to manifest on its own. It has to be consciously carried out. It adds harmony and meaning to our lives, and it keeps our spiritual scale balanced. What you want to add to that, brother?
Action.
Yeah.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yes, sir.
And it's a constant evolution and a constant growing that you're going to have to put on the grind.
Yes.
It's not going to just come out of thin air. You got to practice it daily. And everything that you practice, you'll get better at it. You'll get better at truth,
Yeah.
justice,
Yeah.
reciprocity, balance,
Yes.
harmony.
Yes.
You'll get better at recognizing that I am actually walking in my upper self in these areas.
Talk to
And
him.
you'll be able to see it a lot better.
Yes, sir.
You'll be able to recognize it quicker once you begin to practice this
Yes, sir.
and meditate daily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Meditate daily will put you in the right frame of mind to be a conscious giver.
Yes, sir.
You know, life is just full of givers and takers. There's only 2 types, givers and takers.
Yeah.
I want to be a giver.
Yeah. Me too.
Hey, once again, Dr. Darby, thank you for another great episode, knowledge, and I appreciate you more
Yeah.
than you know.
Yeah, I appreciate you as well, brother. I appreciate it. And it's like we said before, we're just scratching the surface. But hopefully I've ignited a spark in someone to look deeper into my art, and you'll see a lot more. Now, next time I come back, we're going to be talking about the car and the bar and how that pertains to my art. And this is going to be good, okay? This is going to be good. So stay with us. Stay with us.
Hey, listen
Peace.
up. Hey, put it in the comments. If you have any questions whatsoever, put it in the comments, or better yet, you can reach out to me. And if you want to be a part of the discussion, we'll more than welcome you and bring you on board, and we can best attack this together.
Yes, sir.
All right. Peace and love.
Peace.